In this debate versus Arma, I'm going to present how the Star Trails is a globe model destroyer. I'm going to point out the deception and how they were able to fool us, and I will example the various glober arguments that we come across and how they are conflicting with each other and sometimes themselves. I'm going to show just how deep the cognitive dissonance runs in this topic. I've heard over and over that the celestial navigation and star trails is the best globe evidence, and I'm going to show how that's exactly backward. I don't expect to convince any globers, but hopefully they'll see this and at least get their bullshit straight. Okay, if I am standing on the ground and three planes fly over my head, this is just common sense to me, and one goes straight, and one curves off to the right. The further they go, they start easing off to the right, and another one starts easing off to the left. What does that mean?
Don't care. It means you're on a ball.
Back for a second because there's a little confusion trouble that I'd like to clear up. I think you guys are going to go back and forth. This could go on forever. And I don't. But going back, Geo, to your conversion divergent, that is purely a consequence of photography. If you are looking at it with your eyes, none of these stars in the celestial equator or either side of it are converging or diverging. If you take a picture or a motion picture, rapid fire picture, you will see this on a camera that has a wide angle lens. Yes, it'll look like there are two counter rotating circles, but that's not.
That's because you're between two of them there. Yeah.
Yeah. So you have straight line, which are right above the equator, and you have ones that rotate counterclockwise. You look at, and the other one rotate clockwise.
Now, when you're at 20 degrees north or 10 degrees north or whatever it may be, and you see two rotations, one of them converging and one of them diverging, now there's a huge issue with that. Because again, remember, the reason the stars are curving in the sky or making a circle on a globe, it's because you're in the north latitude. The way this could be possible is if you went south of the equator, took a picture, went north of the equator, took a picture, and then spliced it together. It would never be happening. Both of these rotations simultaneously would never be happening on a globe because you're only in one position and you're north of the equator. You would just be getting one circular rotation. You would not see a whole opposite rotation. You're seeing
because I'm using a wide-angle lens and I can get more of the sky in.
Exactly. It's a wide-angle lens. That's what's causing it. No, this isn't a real-life picture. This is a wide-angle picture. This is not a...
No, from the Royal Astronomy Society, it says it and spells it out for you. And you can go to Stellarium. You can do a time-lapse yourself.
So you're telling me
this is the funny part. This is the funny part of this, where they deny the counter rotation.
Aim your camera to the east or west, and the story changes. There you will find celestial equator, and you will see how stars follow different paths. On the celestial equator, stars follow a straight line, but they tend to curve away on both sides of the equator. This is a very spectacular pattern.
The thing about this, the two different star rotations is not something that is only a camera effect, meaning it is actually the declination and the path of the stars in the sky in real life in real time.
And it's measurable.
I'm going to tell you, Brian, that you're wrong. You can test it for yourself. There is no divergence.
You interrupt me every time I go to talk.
None.
Ridiculous.
It looks like there is on a camera because you have a super wide angle lens.
If you're standing on the equator and you're measuring a star,
denial.
Will you quit interrupting me, dude? If you're standing at the equator and you're measuring a star at 30 degrees north, it curves in a circle to the right. I could show this with a equatorial mount. I could show it on sun calc. I could show it with time lapse of stars. And then if you're looking 30 south, it's going to curve to the left. You are wrong, bro. So from the equator, we see the stars directly overhead going straight. We see the stars off to the right in the distance deviating to the left. Would you agree with that? And the stars to the right, like deviating toward what you would call the northern hemisphere?
But yes, if you're stood on the equator, the stars passing directly overhead will be going straight overhead. If you look to the left, they'll be rotating one way. To the right, they'll be rotating the other way. You agree? You'll see the stars are not moving apart. Time-lapse photographs, as you mentioned, often using wide-angle lens, so you can see a wide part of the sky. So there is.
So now they're not deviating off to the right and the left. Okay, because just a minute ago I thought you said that they were.
So we definitely see the stars appear to converge and diverge at the equator, right? The star trails. It's not a question in anyone's mind anymore.
Do we?
No, I think they stay the same angular distance from one another the whole time.
So you're saying I'm talking about what we see. We see them appear to converge and diverge at the equator.
I don't know about that. Do we have evidence of them doing that?
At the equator, and I posted another star that's not at the equator, and it does appear that later on in the night or whatever, at some other point, it does appear that they change distances. But this is only due to perspective, as you said earlier, Zanny.
Because of the wide angle lens, yeah.
No, not because of wide angle lens. Even if you took a snapshot of a single portion of the sky.
Yet another example, people, of how a good globe proof with a little scrutiny destroys the model 100%. What we're going to do here is we're going to use sticks and shadows to destroy the globe. So we know we can't measure the shadows from stars and we can't measure the sun in multiple positions at once, but with a little logic and a little observation, we see the moon follows the stars in its position. So wherever it's at in the ecliptic, it's going to follow them star trails, and the sun would necessarily do the same thing. So we're going to go to sun calc, and we're going to measure multiple positions at once and reference the sun. So here's Google showing and stating the stars curve away toward the horizon on either side of the equator. And remember earlier how I demonstrated the moon and the sun follow the star trails in the ecliptic. Well, I'm going to go to sun calc. That stick at the bottom of the sun, that's a time lapse of the sun, and that stick represents the shadow angles. So this is how we measure. So the stars over Capricorn you see making a frown, there's over the equator, straight. Okay, then I just move barely above the equator, and you'll see the smiley face. So arcing in the Arctic, Antarctic in the Antarctic, smiling and frowning. So that's measurable separation. We can use sticks and shadows to demonstrate measurable separation. So if I move north of the equator toward America, then sure I could justify the smiley face path because I've changed orientation. But what I can't justify is from one location simultaneously seeing three separate paths. So you just got to think about this for a second to break the illusion. It's been entrenched deep in our brains. Everybody, please pay close attention because I know a lot of people still don't understand this, but I'm going to expose the trick here. This is how it would have to work on a globe, is what I have on screen here. If I were standing at the equator facing west, look north, you see a tunnel. Look south, you see a tunnel. If I'm looking west, the stars come from behind me and go straight off into the distance. If I don't change orientation, that's the key, that's the trick. If I don't change orientation, the stars don't change orientation. So if I move north to Tropic of Cancer, the stars would change their perspective due to me changing orientation. They wouldn't go in three separate directions simultaneously from one position. That can't happen if I'm the one rotating. Now, by itself, a tilt cannot fix that. How's tilting going to fix that? All tilting is going to do is change the angle that all the stars are coming from.
I mean, dude, we went over this whole celestial or star trail thing. They deny that that's what you even see with your eyes in the camera effect. It's fucking ridiculous. Like you don't see with your eyeballs the stars rotating around one pole in one hemisphere, then another pole in the other hemisphere, and we're looking at the equator, and you can see both of the. And we're looking at the
You do
equator.
that with your eyes. Everybody knows in the
Tell
north.
Xanacat. Tell Xanacat.
You just got to sit there for a long enough time to see them do a rotation.
Now you're arguing with your own Glober people. Talk to Xanac because I think you do see it. I'm with you.
Answer what Zanic's saying at all.
Well,
The globe
let me try. Let me.
wider and wider. Sorry.
All right, let me try. Do the stars move straight in a straight line path, meaning not curving left to right? If you're right above the celestial, right below the celestial equator.
Well, I'm gonna report.
It's yes or no, Xanac.
I
Yes
do.
I have a yes or no question.
Yes, they curve. They all curve like I said they did, like she said they did.
So the ones at the celestial equator are curving. They're not moving in a straight line path, meaning not left to right curvature.
Depends on what perspective you're looking from. From underneath the Earth, no, they look like they're going straight across the sky.
It's denying reality, man. This is ridiculous.
Underneath, you're underneath. Except when we see them diverging, because we know that at one point they're going in a straight line, and other points they're curving to the left, and then the other side is curving to the right.
We don't see them diverging, though.
We don't see them diverging and converging. So we don't see them going straight, and then some of them are going left and right. We don't see that.
What's that got to do with anything? What are you trying to prove?
We're talking about the star trails right now. I'm trying to show you guys what's up. I know you're desperately trying. It's so desperate that you're trying to avoid this. It's not a good look for you.
It's just saying that you don't understand it. That's the problem.
I know.
I think it's pretty safe to say they're the ones who don't understand. But look how we have to head north from the Tropic of Cancer going toward Kenya by the equator. I've went over this, but I've expanded on it. So now we go down over 2,500 miles south of the equator, and we still have to head north. to get to Kenya. This gets weirder. So we go further north just to see what happens along the same meridian. So we go up 1,500 more miles, and we still have to go north. So no matter where we go, we got to head north to get to Kenya. It gets even weirder. So north of the equator, we have to go north to get to Kenya, but south of the equator, we still had to go north to get to Kenya. So let's try it out further south. And then, boom, now all of a sudden, we got to go south to get to Kenya. So where the hell is Kenya really, in reality? I mean, this is just all over the place. And it gets worse. So we would expect that if we came from the west, so now I go to the Tropic of Cancer and go to Kenya from the west. But I don't have to go north now. I don't have to head north from the Tropic of Cancer if I'm going west to Kenya. So maybe their shit is like some kind of crazy pear shape. But then south, I do have to go north. So it's exactly opposite of what it was over by the United States and South America. It's ridiculous, man. It keeps getting worse. Look, now I go further north to go to Kenya from the west, and I got to go even more southerly. So from the Americas, when I go north to get to Kenya, I got to go more northerly. Anybody could make a model if you could just put lines anywhere you want them to. But anyway, tonight, and I think I've showed enough to penetrate through some of the cognitive dissonance, and I think I've demonstrated the impossibility of star trails and celestial navigation on the globe model. And if nothing else, hopefully, I know I'm not going to swing any globers, but hopefully I've said enough for them to get their bullshit stories straight. Let's get it on.